Hey guys, Brian and Tina with Jonesin to Go.
And today we're here at the RV Super Show in Tampa, Florida.
Yep, today is Industry Day, so the show is technically not starting until tomorrow. But today we get to spend time with a lot of the factory reps and show you what's new for 2022. So stick around, we got a lot to show you. Okay, so we're standing in a Fusion fifth wheel with Jeff Runels, who is actually the president of Keystone RV. Today we're going to talk about Solarflex and the solar program that Keystone, this is brand new this year. We mentioned in a previous video when we did a factory tour of the Montana plant, at the end of that starting with the model year 2022, every Keystone product is coming equipped with solar. When it arrives at a dealer, solar is already up and running. And we'll get to those specific options in a minute. My question is, how did we get here to where everything's coming with solar?
So we were talking a little bit earlier about, you know, what is the definition of solar over the last several years. And that's kind of where we started with it. You know, people would ask, is this unit solar prepped? And they wouldn't ask the next couple of questions they should probably have asked, which is, what does that mean? And there's so many different solar preps out there in the industry, but most of them were just, you know, an outside port that you connect, you know, a portable solar panel to.
Our 2020 model year Montana came solar prepped, and when we saw what that entailed, that was true solar prepped. In fact, when we took it over to a company to have the solar panel put on, he was so impressed. Like I told you earlier, he's like, this is going to be, you're getting off cheap here, because Keystone did all the work. Really, all they had to do was mount the panel on the roof and plug it in, mount the controller underneath and plug it in. They were done. I rolled into their plant at 6 o'clock in the morning and I left at 7 o'clock. And that's how quick and easy it was. And I spent less than $500. That was with somebody else doing it for me. So, and we have since then upgraded our controller after we've talked to the engineers over at Keystone to a Victron controller. And that's made it even more simple. So, back then, just getting it prepped was easy. So all of the Keystone products weren't prepped like that, correct?
No. We started in Montana in large part because, you know, through our Montana Owners Club and a lot of the get-togethers we've had over the last, you know, I would say 10 to 15 years, we've seen so many different versions of what customers have done to their units with solar. We've seen some really neat things, you know. We've got a couple of R&D engineers who are really talented. They work, you know, and they understand the solar space. And so after a couple of years of talking to customers, particularly Montana, we said, you know what, I feel like there's a huge market here that nobody's really doing justice to. And we already had a lot of the partnerships too. So we had worked with Victron, we've worked with, you know, now Dragonfly. And so we were putting little parts and pieces of that together. And we said, okay, since the Montana buyers seem to be understanding this and really wanting it, how can we take it to the next level? And that's where that original Montana prep came from. And then that turned into the Solarflex package, which was what is now the 1200i, which we can get into, but that is where it all started.
And I can see now too where with this whole COVID thing, we've been camping for years, and in fact we're on our 9th RV with our Montana, so we're not new to this. What we have seen from the whole COVID, and we kind of joke about it, we call these new people COVID campers, because you can pick them right out in a campground, but the campgrounds are full now. So the parks are full, and I think that is spreading people more out, and boondocking is becoming a big thing. Is that something that you guys saw? That
it's that's been a buzzword. You know, we talked about Montana and the evolution of that solar prep. We should also talk about, you know, we have West Coast facilities as well, out in Pendleton, Oregon. And we've had a different demand for solar out there for years, not only from boondocking, but just the way they use their units. And so both coasts have always acted so differently. But what we started to see was this convergence of, you know, solar becoming more of a hot button on both coasts. And a lot of that was born from, you know, I'm going to take this out and I'm going to boondock, or I'm going to be in a parking lot, or I'm going to be traveling and I don't know where I'm going to be. And so, you know, and those were all still very different uses of solar, but they all meant one thing. We had to do a better job of being more efficient and building these units so that you could upgrade them. And that upgrade meant different things for different people. And so that's the other reason that we wanted to do the prep right, so that really all you're doing is selecting some of the components that will power that unit.
So now that we know how you got there with this solar program, let's talk about if you just go to a dealership and you find a unit you like, more than likely it's going to have a 200 watt panel. That's the starting point, correct?
Yes. Yep. The
And then
200i. Yep.
And then you can upgrade from there.
Yep.
So 200 is not a lot of solar. So what that entails is basically just kind of keeping the batteries up.
Yeah, it's a more evolved version of some of those ports that we talked about earlier. This is going to be a really good way to keep your batteries, safe, charged, and it does give you some of the componentry to be able to upgrade. One of the things that we wanted to do as we were staging these packages is make it so that you could kind of move through these packages efficiently. So you can take the 200i and you can upgrade it, and you can get really close to where you would be with the 400 like we're standing in right now. Not quite all the way. 400 you can get almost to the 600 level, and the 600 you can get almost to that Super Solarflex or the 1200 level.
Okay, so if somebody's ordering from the factory, somewhere I talked to somebody and they weren't sure when they gave me the information. They thought that the 1200 watt was only available on like the Montanas or the luxury fifth wheels.
Luxury fifth wheels, that's something that we see we will evolve over the next couple of years. The 1200 is a little bit more involved than the others, and it's a lot more expensive than the others, just
Sure.
the raw components. So we'll start it in luxury, but just like 3 years ago, you would never have heard us say we're going to do a 600i type of package in our across most of our complex, and that's where we are today. So I think another year or so you'll start to see that continue to trickle down through some of the other products, and it really is just based on customer demand.
Okay, so let's go over. So a basic package is 200 watts with a 15 amp controller.
Correct.
And then from there you go up to a 400i.
Yep.
The I means inverter.
Yep.
So how many? It's not the whole coach that's
Not the
inverted.
whole coach. The 1200 is the only one that inverts the entire coach. But
Okay.
On the 400, 600, and 200, you got 7 outlets that are inverted.
Okay, so you're getting outlets with the 200 as well.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, that's something that I had some misinformation on,
Yep.
so I'm glad we cleared that up. So 200, 400, 600, and then up to the 1200. Let's talk a little bit about, let's say, a 400i.
Okay.
What do you see people using that level of solar? What are they powering?
Well, so the 400 is kind of a nice. It's a tweener for a reason. You can power your TV. You could power one of your ACs if you wanted to.
Okay.
But really, the 400 is going to give you nice flexibility, and the most common use of that is going to be those 7 outlets. You
Okay.
can power 2 of them on the outside. Most of our setups, five outlets on the inside.
Okay.
That way you can use a coffee maker. You could use a blender, and that's where I see it. Kind of being used the most. And then from there, kind of what we talked about, the 400 doesn't come with the batteries, so you give that customer the choice of, okay, how do you want to set this up with your batteries?
Okay.
And that's where the lithium comes into the conversation. We're
Right.
also getting big behind lithium now.
We talk about these inverted outlets. How big of an inverter comes from the factory?
So on the 400, you're talking about a 2,000 watt inverter. When
Okay.
you go up to the 600, you're talking about a 3,000 watt inverter.
Okay, so a 600 really going to handle a microwave
Yes.
or a coffee maker.
Now you're talking about, you can go with an AC pretty easily. You get a soft start AC on that unit. But the 400, you can kind of choose between some of those things, and that's why we wanted to set it up with the 2,000 watt inverter, because it will handle most of your power needs individually.
Okay, right.
Whereas the 600 is going to be a little more robust, and you can function multiple appliances with the right setup.
Right, and we carry a 3,100 watt generator, and even with that,
Yeah.
we can only if the air conditioner's
choose.
running,
Yeah.
it has to get shut off to warm something up in the microwave.
Yeah.
And the way we travel, we only carry it so that if we wanted to pull over on a long day and just make a sandwich or warm something up, that's really the only reason we carry the generator. So staying at harvest hosts and things like that, the generator sometimes is a little impractical, and so that's why we're kind of leaning towards going to like a 3,000 watt inverter and just getting rid of the generator. So we're going to accomplish 2 things by getting rid of the generator. We're going to open up some more storage,
Yeah.
and we're going to not disturb our neighbors and say a harvest host or something like that at 9 o'clock at night if we want to watch TV or whatever. So I think this is a great addition to Keystone, and I know a lot of people are talking about it. another thing, now we're starting to see things out west. Like they're starting to ban things like generators and power.
Yeah.
Has that come into play at all, or
Yeah,
no?
I'll be honest. In the initial conversation, it really didn't. That's been more, the last 6 months to a year where we're really starting to hear more of that. So I think that's part of the other thing that will help this whole program evolve. And you're going to see more of that. But really, it does come back to that boondocking conversation that we started with him.
Right, and you talk about it really started out west, and I'm pretty familiar with that because we've spent time out west camping in the mountains.
Yeah.
And when you go up camping in the mountains, you take as much water as you can,
Yeah.
and you take a generator.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can see where the folks out west are really appreciating this because those generators also start fires.
Oh yeah.
So they're kind of taking some heat from people out there with that. So I think this is going to be a good thing. Jumping from solar prep to everything comes solar, I think you guys have really set the bar high here.
I
And so,
appreciate
as usual, it looks like Keystone's ahead of the game. So, one more time, I'm going to plug, you guys just saw us do a video of the new My Keystone app. If you want more specifics and details that we didn't go into today, download that app. If you go to our video, and again, that's why it's important to subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications of all those videos. If you go to that video, in the description down below, we have links where you can download that My Keystone app. You don't have to be a Keystone owner right now to use that.
Nope.
Anybody can use it for a lot of reasons, whether you're shopping or just looking for specifications and information. There's a ton of it there. So, Jeff, I appreciate you taking time with us today to kind of go over the Solarflex and let people know what Keystone's doing. And if you guys want any more information, please leave comments below. What do you think about this? And if you have any questions, if we can't answer the questions, I can get to somebody who can. So we'll see you guys on the next video. It's going to be a long day here today at the Tampa Super Show. And I think we might be meeting up again later on for something else. So Keystone's got a lot of new products this year, so we're going to be covering just those things today. So we'll see you guys on the next video.